I know it's a while since I've been on here. We have had spring break and visitors that come to visit us in another country. And I got sick for a little bit, so things happened. But I want to come today and talk about Rebekah. And Rebekah is the wife of Isaac. Remember, Isaac was born to Sarah and Abraham in their old age. And Sarah has passed away now. Isaac is there. He is almost 40 years old, and Abraham is telling his servant, don't let my son marry someone around here. I want you to go to my father's people and find Isaac a wife. And the servant's like, well, what if they're not willing to send somebody to be a wife? He goes, then I release you from this oath, but until then, go get somebody from the family. I want somebody that's going to worship God. So the servant goes, and as he's coming, he prays and says, God, if it's your person, I'm going to arrive. I'm going to ask for a drink. And if the person says, I'll water your camels too, then I know that's the woman that you have chosen for my master's son. So he arrives, he does that. Rebekah comes out, he asks her for a drink, and she offers to water his camels too. So the servant is like, blinking neon sign, this is God's person. He puts jewelry on Rebekah. He tells her who he is, and he wants to come give them news about Abraham and stay in their house and all of that. So she runs back. She tells her brother. Her brother takes a look at the jewelry. Like, that's the first thing it says. Laban sees the jewelry, and then he hears what she says, and he runs back, and she's telling her mom and her dad. He brings the servant back. The servant explains everything. And Rebekah's said to him because he tells him the whole story, like, this is what I prayed, this is what God did. Rebekah did what I asked. And so, and he found out because she said, I'm the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. So Nahor was Abraham's brother. And so Bethuel and Laban, the brothers, are saying, well, this is from the Lord. We can't keep her from you. And they're saying you can go with her. And she agrees. Okay? She agrees. She says, yes, this is from the Lord. And here's what I think we need to pay attention to here. You should be so intimate with God as a woman that when God shows up, you recognize his work. Because I'm sure she was just doing her daily chores, right? She was just going out and gathering water for her family. And while she was there, she offers hospitality to this stranger, not knowing that he was from her uncle's family. She didn't know that. But she did know when God showed up. And she accepted it. And even when her mom and brother were like, wait a few more days, we want to prepare you, she was like, nope, this is from God. I'm going to go now and return and find my husband. So she knew God so well that she was like, I'm going. And she didn't wait, right? A lot of times we can get comfortable and go, okay, God, I see you're at work, but I need this settled first. Or I need to settle that first. Or I need to settle that first. She didn't do that. She said, no, I know things could be settled, but it is time for me to go because God is calling me and I'm going to go. Know God so well in your life that you recognize his work even if it's not what you were expecting. I have a very interesting, kind of sad, but also powerful story about my mom. And my mom has always been my hero of the faith. She has always been an example. She has been prayed up, just living it out, and put people in my life to help me because she was wise. She realized I needed other women in my life, so all this stuff. But my mom had always looked forward to the day that she was going to move to a certain place. And my dad retired and they moved and they were there. And through the years, they were there. They've been there for a very long time. But my mom just felt isolated, and especially spiritually isolated. And she told me later, she said, I just couldn't feel or hear God anymore. And when you know God so well that you know him and you hear him and you can feel him moving in your life, when you have times of drought, it is devastating. It is just devastating. And my mom said she prayed, God, I can't feel you. I can't hear you. Please, please, I need to hear you and I need to feel you. So 2020, COVID hits, everything's shut down. My family's in a different state. And I get the call. My mom has been diagnosed with cancer. And that was a very, very, very difficult, horrible call to get. Where I was still very shut down. So I quarantined, loaded up my kids, went to go help my father take care of my mom. And I remember my mom just having this peace about her. And there was days when she had the treatment where her skin was so toxic, none of us could touch her. We weren't allowed to touch her because we could get sick from the treatment she was going through. But I would sit and I would read to her and I would talk to her when she was awake. And I just said to her, I don't understand how you have such peace. And she told me that she had prayed this prayer. And she goes, never in a million years would I think cancer was the answer to that prayer. She said, but cancer, me getting cancer was the answer because people are praying for me. People are showing up. I have been surrounded by the family of God. And she said, I can literally feel the prayers of the saints around me. I can feel these prayers. And I never would have expected me getting so sick and being close to death would be the answer to prayer. But it has been the answer to prayer. And I feel peace because I feel God. Now she was healed. She is healthy. All these things. But man, what a testament that she said this that seems so awful has let me feel the presence of God and see him working. Nobody would think, well, very few people would think that cancer is an answer to prayer. However, my mom, through the years, knew God so well. And you've got to think of that friend that you've known for years and years and years and years. And you all are so close that for whatever reason, even if you haven't talked to each other in a while and something just tells you to call them or them to call you, and you pick up the phone and you know each other so well that you recognize their voice the moment they say hello. They don't even have to say, this is. They say hello and you're like, oh, I know this person so well. It has been years, but I know them so well. Just the sound of their voice, I know them. They have picked up the phone. And that is kind of, if you know God so well that when he finally answers the phone, and that was how my mom knew. Cancer was the answer to prayer. She knew God moved in that and answered her prayer to feel close to him, okay? So Rebekah knew God so well that when he showed up through a stranger at the well, she knew to go. She knew to go. And when she gets there, Sarah's already dead. She is immediately put into the role of matriarch, not patriarch, matriarch. She is put in Sarah's tent. So she is now the woman in charge of the family. And I can imagine that would be daunting because you don't even barely know these people. You don't know all their history. You don't know all the stories other than what you heard about Abraham growing up, brother to Nahor. You haven't seen him in decades. So you don't know Abraham and Isaac. I mean, Isaac's been born to Abraham and Sarah in their 90s, or actually Abraham 100, Sarah 90, since they left the family. So other than stories, she doesn't know them. And here she is. She's got to be the matriarch of this family, not knowing the history, not knowing, I'm sure she found out Ishmael, this, that, the other. So there she is. But I want to point out another point about Rebekah. Okay. So, she's there. And Abraham remarries. But that remarried woman is not the matriarch of the family. Rebekah is. Rebekah's in Sarah's tent, not Keturah. Okay? So Rebekah is in Sarah's tent. And then, so they are married when Isaac is 40. It doesn't really say how old Rebekah is. I'm guessing she was younger. But 20 years pass. 20 years pass. And they do not have children. 20 years pass. This is in Genesis 25. And I want you to hear this. Okay, so Isaac was 40 years old when he took his wife Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Paddan Aram, and sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord was receptive to his prayer, and his wife Rebekah conceived. Okay, we're going to pause there. This is in chapter 25. That was verses 20 through 21. Okay, 20 years, and she doesn't have children. Now, Rebekah knows the Lord, but after 20 years of not getting what you feel like is your destiny, because at that time, women were supposed to keep the tents and bear children. So this has been 20 years. She's been married for 20 years, and she is infertile. Okay? So I think she is just feeling so isolated at this point. So isolated at this point. It's like, God, it's been 20 years and I am not having children. She had to have felt like God abandoned her. But I want you to pay attention. Rebekah didn't pray after 20 years. Her husband prayed on her behalf. And I think if you're unmarried, you really, really need to hear this. And if you're married, pray that your husband either is this man or becomes this man in your life. Everybody, every person goes through a time where they feel like they're in the desert with God. And often it's through their own choices and their own sin and their own reluctance to be obedient. Okay? So I'm not going to say that's on God. But when you are in those places, you need a spouse that is in tune to you and to God so much that they will go pray on your behalf. That their relationship with God is so strong at that point that they're praying and God hears their prayer on your behalf. Because there will be times where you feel like he is distant. And he's not. He's right there. He's waiting for us to hear him. Or he's just waiting on us to be patient and say, not yet, not yet. I've got the perfect time. And I know you want this now, but I'm shaping you. You're not ready yet. You're not ready to be a mom yet. You're not ready to be a spouse yet. You're not ready for these things. Keep praying up. Don't give up. But maybe it's about shaping the spouse or who's supposed to be your spouse or whatever as well. All right? But at this point, Isaac's ready to be a dad. Rebekah's ready to be a mom. Isaac goes and prays on Rebekah's behalf. Like he loves her. And he sees that she's struggling. And he goes and he prays to God on her behalf. What a beautiful testament of a spouse going to God. Oh, that's wonderful. And then she conceives and she has twins, and her pregnancy is rough, okay? We all have pregnancy stories, especially if you've had more than one child, you've got a pregnancy story, right? And so it says, but the children inside her struggled with each other, and she said, why is this happening to me? And then, okay, so guess what? Isaac's prayer was answered. Now she's willing to go to God again. She's willing. She feels that something's going on. God has answered this conception, and now based on the prayers of her husband and his faithfulness, she has now regained her faith, and she's going, why is this happening to me? And she goes to inquire of the Lord, and he's saying, two people are in your room, two nations, and they will be separated, and one's going to be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. Okay, so she's already knowing the younger twin is going to be more successful. God's going to bless more. And so, yep, she gives birth. There's twins, a really hairy one, and then the other one that was gripping the heel. And so they are Esau and Jacob. And through a series of events, Jacob eventually becomes Israel, and he becomes the father of Israel. And so the last time we kind of see Rebekah, she is helping Jacob lie to his dad. She's helping Jacob lie to his dad. And she is helping him deceive to get the blessing and the birthright. And I don't know if it's because of this belief in her mind, well, this is what God wants, so I need to help him. And we know how that goes. Like, don't help God. He will do things in his timeline. And I think he used when she deceived Isaac, but don't lie to your spouse. Don't lie to your spouse. Because as a result, Jacob has to flee because Esau is so mad over what happened that he wants to kill Jacob. And so this son that she has helped deceive the other one, she now has to send away. And she's saying, I want him to go find a wife with my brother's people, right? Remember Laban. Laban comes back. But she's like, send Jacob, because Esau's wife that's from these local women, she's driving me crazy. I don't like her. I want Jacob to have a believing wife from our family. And so Isaac sends Jacob away to go find a wife. And so her deception to Isaac, not good. It's causing the two brothers to have enmity, have huge problems with each other. The older wants to kill the younger, and to save the younger's life, she has to send him away. And there's a whole host of things that happen, and we'll see Jacob's wives, Leah and Rachel, later. But I want the key takeaways for you to see is, one, like I said, be so intimate with God that even when it's in unexpected ways, you recognize when he shows up. Two, have a spouse that loves God so much that they recognize when you're going through that desert, and they will intercede with God on your behalf. The other thing about when my mom had cancer, my dad was on his knees daily praying for her. And she told me, she said, we've gotten to this discipline from way back, decades. They pray together every morning now. And they've been doing that since I was my late teens, right? So this is over 20 years later, and they still pray together every morning unless they're not together. And even then, sometimes they call each other and pray whatever time of day they can reach each other. And so, but my mom heard his prayers and said, God is moving through your father, and his prayers for me are beautiful. And I can feel God move. Whew, So, know God so well you see when he shows up. Have a spouse that is close to God, so that when you go through your desert with God, because it's not an if, it's a when. I'm sorry, we're all sinful people and we will feel distant from God, that they will intercede and pray for you a strong prayer, and God will hear them on your behalf. And thirdly, don't get ahead of God's timeline. We've already seen Sarah and Abraham make that mistake. Now we see Rebekah trying to help God out on the timeline to make Jacob more prominent. And her sons are out kind of at war with each other over this. And don't lie to your spouse. Put your spouse ahead of your children. I know that sounds weird because they came from your body, and of course your natural instinct is to just smother them in love and protect them and all of that, but your spouse needs to be first, and you need to be on the same page about that. And so that are things that we can learn from Rebekah. All right.